The Washington Examiner says about this topic, quote, Pentagon officials claim alien mothership could send ships to Earth in draft research paper. That's interesting. And another thing they write is, quote, officials at the Department of Defense claimed it is possible for aliens to send small probes to our solar system and even to Earth on missions similar to the ones conducted by NASA, according to a research report draft.
No, it's super interesting. And that's exactly what I think we would do if we're out in space and we encounter a planet. We would send drones and robots to test out the atmosphere and if it's safe enough to go there. And I think throughout our history on Earth, there has been multiple visitations. A great example of that is the Band of Holes in Peru. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Where actually the Native Americans saw this thing come down from the sky and just kind of this like a tank run over the ground, taking samples of the earth basically. And after it was done, it just zipped off. And that's where the Native Americans started making the Nazca lines. They're kind of to entice this thing that came down to make this
Oh,
big span of holes that was miles long.
yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's
Yes.
interesting. Do you think it's possible that there could be a mothership somewhere in our solar system? And do you really think it's possible? I don't know. It's crazy. We already thought about that when we heard about Oumuamua.
I think it is totally possible. I think again, civilizations that are billions and billions years older than us are traveling the stars and might have these gigantic mile-long ships. And it is kind of baffling to think about these things being made and with the technology and what creatures are driving these things and having these missions and agendas to do what they're doing. I think there's just so many different races of ETs just all over the galaxy. It could be like a beacon on the bottom of the ocean saying all ETs can study and do whatever here they want. You know what I'm saying? But there might be some certain rules of what they can and cannot do.
Yeah, yeah. If there's a mothership, I don't know. I don't think they will come down and say, "Hey, here we are," or so. I think they're only researchers. If they're out there, I think they're only researchers. I mean, we don't have nothing to offer to them, nothing to exchange or trade, not even knowledge, nothing. They can study us like we study ants or some bugs. I don't think they are interested in having contact with us.
You're right. Or even raging war. If you think about it, we're going to Mars to have people live there. You're telling me they're going to bring a bunch of guns and tanks and army stuff to to Mars with them, their first few trips? No, I don't know. I mean, you think they're going there to again study and to terraform.
Yeah.
Who knows? These aliens could terraform a planet that isn't populated with intelligent creatures. You know what I'm saying? Like Earth is already kind of busy and already it's got stuff going on. There's so many different agendas. What people have claimed with contacts is going on with even with abductions and cow mutilations, where it's just like a genetic harvest.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they just come down, do research, get what they want since they have the technology. We heard about, like I said, the cow mutilations, abductions, stuff like that. So I think they're not interested in getting in contact with us. They just want something. I think it's a very, those cow mutilations or cattle mutilations are a very interesting topic. But if there's aliens doing it, it's very interesting that those cattles and animals always they always take the blood and there's no blood left. A
Right.
little bit inside the heart chambers, a little bit of blood left, but in this blood there's no stress hormones anymore.
It's funny that you just were talking about cow mutilations. I just bought Linda Moulton Howell's documentary from 1979 about cattle mutilations, and it's called A Strange Harvest. I recommend you maybe buying it, or I bought it on Prime. Actually has a lot of cases that I'd never heard about in that, and actually has a lot of pretty graphic photographs and videos of these cows that have just been, looks like just surgical cuts too, just like square ones, and like fucking certain just parts were like certain parts of the organs were missing. Yeah, it was pretty. And like again, they were saying like examples of what animals would do to a dead animal if they were we're going at it compared to the ones that are mutilated by ETs.
I heard they're often missing the cheeks,
Mm-hmm.
the flesh from the cheeks, the eyes,
Yeah.
ears,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. The anus is often
Yes.
taken out, like surgically taken
Yep.
out. You wonder why. What do you want with the cow anus? I don't know. But the blood is interesting. Maybe they're going for the blood to do some research. But why they take blood from the cow? I don't know. Would be the human body more interesting than than the body of a cow?
Well, throughout history, you look at our kind of like Greek mythology creatures, where you see these mixed creatures with, like half falcon with lion, and or like or some of the Egyptian creatures you see with like half hippo, half alligator. Like it's just a genetic, I don't know, experiments that they were just doing with other animals, creating creatures and then bringing them to their own home planet, maybe like a zoo almost. I
Yeah.
don't know. We see this in history, carved in walls and in paintings and stuff like that. It just kind of makes you wonder what's really going on, what maybe people did witness or see.
Since you talked about Greek mythology, we all know the Minotaur, but the head of a bull, or Medusa, with the
Yeah, Medusa.
snake head.
Yep. Yep.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, maybe they're going for an intergalactic zoo. Yeah, why not with genetic manipulated creatures?
Well, and then Japan just a few years ago just passed a bill or a law that they're starting to make human animal hybrids.
And
Or
they
the Germans were trying to do that. They're trying to make super soldiers with the apes, the chimpanzee soldiers. You hear about that
no
during World War II? Or maybe that was Russia that did that. I'm sorry. I
Russia.
think Russia were trying to make super soldiers with monkeys.
It, crazy thought, and it's creepy.
A gorilla holding an AK-47. Yeah.
Imagine that,
No,
man. Yeah, you're going to war and getting attacked by some gorillas with AK-47s. What do you think about, since you talked about possible alien races, many alien races? What do you think about, and I hear it all the time, people talk about the
mm-hmm.
reptilians. Could there be some truth to it?
There could be, to not necessarily them running the countries and running the world themselves, but I heard about the underground worlds that they live in, kind of like the hollow earth theory. And they live in these huge tunnels underneath the earth. And I guess some of the Native Americans actually talk about the lizard people that come from underneath the ground. So yeah, it makes you wonder, was this an extraterrestrial race that's been around since millions of years ago that found a different world underneath this one? I don't know. I think that extraterrestrials have been here since the dawn of time. There's a theory too that the dinosaurs actually evolved enough where they actually got to walk on two legs and had arms, and
I don't think so.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so
so.
either.
And if there's reptilians, you wonder how they, from what and how they evolved to humanoid reptilian beings. I just don't think it's possible.
And then these people talking about them being shape shifting too,
Yeah.
like they can turn into humans and stuff like that. So it kind of makes you wonder if like, are they all like skinwalkers? People talk about like seeing at a different frequency. They're only visible in a certain frequency.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? I don't know. It got too much into the conspiracy theory of like the QAnon, where they're feeding babies to these reptilian humans
Mm.
that are running the world. That's just crazy. You don't think you think that might have some truth to there? It's
No
false.
way. No way this is true. I don't believe in reptilians. I don't believe in the hollow earth. I do not believe in the flat earth. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, the hollow earth, maybe, but
Have you heard of Animal Bird, that famous explorer who was like the first one to fly over the North Pole?
of course, of course. Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, yeah, of course.
He had a journal, a diary that came out like as a book on his deathbed, basically. And in that diary talks about him describing when he went over the North Pole, there was a hole, and then there's like green grass and trees, and he actually saw mammoths, and actually got too close where this beam shot at him and drawn his airplane closer into the hole. And it was like these UFOs with like, he even said some swastika looking, not saying that they were Nazis or anything related to Nazis, but he landed there and these human like extraterrestrials tell him that they didn't appreciate all the bombs that had been dropping or testing around the world. These extraterrestrials just wanted to give the message out that they were upset about them using nuclear bombs and it's destroying their world and blah blah blah. So yeah, he goes off and tells the Pentagon or people higher up and they tell him like, you better keep your mouth shut, blah 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 blah. They actually hired him to do the Operation High Jump when they took a bunch of military guys and from the Navy and Air Force to go down to stop all the Nazi activity that was happening in the South Pole. They were building bases, submarine bases, and other stuff. They actually were trying to persuade people to move down there, Germans to move down to Antarctica. A big war broke out against some, I guess, with animal birds was the one that kind of ran the whole thing. But yeah, I guess some people got lost during that whole Operation High Jump. They said even they saw some of the Nazi UFOs. It's such a weird shit, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you gotta look into it a little bit more with that case. Very mysterious, and the fact that the Nazis were very into the Hollow Earth themselves. Hitler believed in the Hollow Earth and believed in other holy relics that thought would actually help, gain power towards this war that he was raging against the world. But the fact that he had scholars go around the world trying to find the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant.
But where did he heard about the Hollow Earth? Where did he get the idea from?
I think you would think there'd just be books, the imagination. I don't know. Like, I don't know where he got the idea. I'm guessing the idea of the Hollow Earth has been around for a long time.
Yeah, I think so too.
Ever since they thought the Earth was round, I think they might have thought it was hollow. I think people from NASA think that maybe the moon is hollow, or that's an artificial structure itself too.
Yeah, I don't think it's hollow. Do you think it's hollow? I don't. I don't think it's. I can't imagine that.
I just like there's ancient stories about the moon being towed in. It was there. It wasn't there one day, and then it was there the next. And then the fact that where it's sitting in our solar system around the Earth, a zillion to one where it's at to actually blot out the sun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like by design that happened. I don't know. It's so mysterious. But I'm glad that there is more scientists leaning towards that there is life out in space.
But you talked about ancient aliens. You bought a Kachina doll.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe tell me about how that happened.
Well, I was always interested in the Kachina dolls and the Hopi Indians and their culture and their belief system. The story of the Hopi Indians was really interesting to me. So I guess their legend was that they were kind of wandering the desert, is it New Mexico and Arizona area, and they were starving basically. And I guess one day, out of like smoke and fire from the sky, these creatures with helmets and these outfits they'd never seen before came to these people and showed them agriculture and how to survive and mathematics. So they stayed with these people for a little bit, enough where they said they would actually come back in the future. So they left the people after they taught them what they needed to know to survive. Ever since they kind of started the cargo cult again, where the people that actually dress up like the Kachina and dance and have the powwows. But they would make these dolls for their children. They wanted to make sure when the children get older and they pass it on to generations and generations of their children, just in case when the Kachina do come, they won't be afraid of these creatures, basically. So it's again, the cargo cult starts and it continues to today. So I got these old Kachina dolls from the 1930s, and actually I'm going to be bidding on another one that's a little bit older, 1920s. I'm hoping that no one else will bid.
Where did you buy it?
eBay bids,
Oh,
auctions. Yeah.
okay.
So these are antiques. These are They're collectibles, but they're expensive. The one I'm looking at, if it wasn't being bidded off, it'd probably be like $500.
Wow,
Yeah,
very expensive. Do you already have the one you bought?
I have two. They're on their way in the mail, so they're gonna be
Ah,
here.
so they're not there yet. Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
it.
But no, this one I'm gonna be bidding for is starting at $100, and there's no other bids right now. So I'm like, just cross my fingers that no other bidders are gonna be there watching for this one, so I can get it on the cheap because I love these things, but they're very, very expensive things. They're kind of like I think maybe Gunter would like to talk about me, learn more about those because they kind of remind me of the Dogu
Mm.
in Japan.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
The
true.
same figures, helmet like with the slit eyes and stuff like
Yes.
that. And
Yeah, very interesting too. Also, yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw a documentation about it. It's very interesting.
I think didn't Gunter show you a bunch of stuff that he saw himself?
Yes,
Those figures of they look like the Dogu. And where was that region that he had that? Was that in Austria?
it was Austria, right?
That's amazing too, where you're finding like it's almost out of place, don't you feel?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't belong in that culture of
Yes.
people. Like
Yes.
that's more like Japan or like maybe Indian, you know?
You know what's crazy? I talked to this other researcher. His name is Ralph, and we had a podcast about those elongated skulls.
Yeah.
They found a lot of elongated skulls in Bavaria, Germany. It's very interesting. And they came from and they did some testing on these skulls, on the genetics, and they found out they're from Asia. They came a long way to Bavaria for whatever reason to marry those lords. And it's very interesting how they made their way here and why. Just to marry those lords and stuff. But those lords back then, they weren't very rich. They had not much to offer. So it makes you wonder why they came here and why those elongated skulls. It's very crazy.